Yeah, I think it's time. So I don't see timing yet from both Flora. So let's just start. And if I see him, I can add them to our panel. So good to see you all here. Nice to find the time to discuss this really important topic nowadays, especially healthy working. I think with three companies who are really in the center of realizing that. So hope to have a vivid discussion about it. Maybe, Boy, you can start by introducing yourself.
Yes, of course. So my name is Boy, founder of Healthy Workers, improving well-being of employees, and not only in offices, but nowadays, of course, also in the home work environment. So we developed a platform. We have a feedback system. We also have a new product which is called Anywhere. And that's actually a new way of measuring data in the home working environment, more focused on the health and the well-being, to improve also as an employer in situations what's also not your office. And we have the sensor data, and based on all this data, we make sure that the right interventions are advised and implemented.
Thanks. Felix.
I'm Felix van den Horst. I'm one of the co-founders of Clarify. And about 2 years ago, my colleagues and I started off our own sensor company. So what we measured is the indoor air quality in office spaces, which is oftentimes worrisome. And in addition to that, we also made smart software, also with a feedback system, to gather the information of how people perceive the comfort and the climate inside of the office, and also give recommendations on what you can do about it on a health aspect. So we make smart reports based on that, and can inform companies properly on what they need to do in order to make their working environment more safe and more healthy in that instance. And yeah, we recently also started offering these kind of quick scans to help companies in these uncertain times, especially with the coronavirus, on how they can take that extra step into account to make sure that their firm is a safe place to work. So in addition to the 1.5 meter, air quality is definitely an aspect you need to look at when you go back to work, because yeah, most viruses and contaminants are easy spreading through the air, including corona.
Yeah, thanks, Felix. Robert, I think you can elaborate on that as well.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. So hello, everybody in the audience. My name is Robert. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of Breeze Technologies. We are a German startup, and we basically provide ubiquitous air quality data and intelligence. So we monitor air quality indoors as well as outdoors with our sensors. And then we have what we call an environmental intelligence cloud, where we fuse all the data from our different customers together to provide insights based on that. So that might mean for a facility manager or a building owner that they see, okay, how does my building perform in regards to indoor air quality? How does the outside air quality look like for that part of the city? How do these two correlate? Because sometimes the sources of the air pollution inside of your building are actually coming from outdoors. And then basically on top of this data, we also recommend solutions. We have collected 3,500 clean air actions, and then use artificial intelligence basically to matchmake those with the local challenges that we identify. And we do that for companies like Microsoft, SAP, but also for smaller startups. So also companies 5, 10 employees are using our solution now more and more, also in the Corona times, to kind of provide a healthy working environment for the employees.
Sounds good. Yeah, so you all become more relevant. What is now the biggest topic nowadays in healthy working?
Well, I think it's really now that people are starting to get back to their workspace, there's a lot of uncertainty about what is actually required from the employees, right? I mean, in the past, it was only things like, okay, if the workplace temperature gets over this degree temperature, then you need to take certain measures as an employer. But now you have this distance that people need to be apart from each other. People are not really sure still how to keep the workplace clean of the coronavirus, what kind of policies to enforce. And from what we've seen now, air quality has really become one of the greatest things to look at there. Also because things like carbon dioxide and volatile organic compounds are tracers for human breath. So if you start tracking those, you also see what kind of infection risk or what kind of corona spread risk you have at the workplace.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think on one hand, if I may add to Robert, I fully agree on these topics that are getting way more relevant now. So there are, of course, huge challenges, especially in the bigger organizations. What we see, if you have to, you need to make sure that the 1.5 meter distance is there. But on the culture side, that means also a lot for an organization. I think it's more easy to make sure that there is an healthy workplace on the physical aspects in the work environment. But you also have to make sure that the people working for your organization or working in your building are feeling safe. And I think that's maybe even a bigger challenge that you need to take care of. And I think also when it comes to working from home, I think you see that it's definitely something that is increasing, and a lot of things are working much better from like this, Zoom or Microsoft Teams. But there are also things that you need to do in the office, right, to be creative and the social aspect. But it means that when your people are working from home, there is a bigger disconnection. So I think that's also a big challenge.
Yeah, and at last, the partial awareness that people have right now with regards to their own health is some thing that building owners should be taking more into account, I would say. Make offices more attractive, because it's possible that a lot of companies will think like, well, for the upcoming half year or maybe in the next year, we're going gradually back to work as being allowed, but that means that a lot less office is being used. So when people are going to the office needs to fulfill these demands to become a safe, healthy, and inspiring place to work. Exactly like, Boy underscores.
Yeah, I have a question here from one of our viewers, Tibor Kastelein. To Boy, how do you control that people take corona measures seriously using your software?
Yeah, I think that's an important one. So we have different products, like I explained, and we communicate and give also tips and tricks. So when, for example, it comes to corona measures, it's something that you need to communicate. It needs to be clear. We offer tailor-made solutions where we work together with experts in the field, also with the knowledge which is out there. We ourselves are not the experts, but we connect them and integrate it in our software to make sure that employees that have specific problems or need to know stuff when it comes to corona measures will be facilitated.
Yeah, because you're all about qualitative research, aren't you? So what are the main insights you now see with the employees?
So we maybe also for the rest is we connect different kind of data. So we connect with an API of sensor data. That's not our hardware, but we integrate it to our platform, and then we have with the feedback system and anywhere we collect the qualitative data, and both on that we can see what are the trends. And it's for sure, we did focus from the start of Corona very much on home working because we saw obviously a big opportunity. And there, I already shared the disconnection with your employer is one of the biggest challenges, and also private work balance. There we have tailor-made solutions for. And now we are helping clients when it comes to getting back to the office, because that's now something that in phases will come.
And how do you see that, Robert? If you take a more worldly view, do you expect less people working in offices in the future?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, definitely, and we've seen responses throughout our clients, our partners that are taking really both approaches. So I mean, we have companies like Microsoft who have canceled all their physical events until the end of the year at least, or even until mid next year, and are saying we are going to do everything virtually now. And we have other companies where they are already now starting to get back to the offices again and start doing physical events again. Yeah, I mean, only time will tell. In some parts of the world, the corona cases are starting up again. Here in Europe, luckily, in most countries, they're still going down, I believe. At least from also the outside air quality data, from what we've seen, the transport here is going up again. So people are using their cars more again. They're commuting again. They're getting from A to B again. So the individual mobility is also rising. I believe, from my personal point of view, I believe it will be a kind of mixed approach in the future, that maybe we will not need to be in the office anymore for 5 days per week, but everybody will be only there for 2 or 3 days per week, and the rest will be done in telework from your personal home. But yeah, this of course is not possible for all areas, right? When we look at our hardware developers, they cannot work from home. They need our laboratory. They need the prototypes. They need the soldering stations. But if you're a software developer, if you're working in the business area, then it's much easier, of course, to work remotely.
What's your vision on that, Felix?
Well, I kind of agree with both the guys. I previously also stated that I expect that it will be a gradual blend of working from home and going back to the office, but it really depends on the type of business that you're involved with on a daily basis, which makes it logic to follow Robert in this sense, that if you're very used to having your own bench to work on and be working with, for example, hardware, it's way more difficult to do that in a home situation than when you have your own office. Well, if you're doing sales, it can just be as comfortable as sitting on your couch or behind your desk like we're doing right now. So that's basically it. But I think in the bigger sense, it's super important that we are going to see a trend towards more focus on well-being within the corporate environment. That's my take on this whole pandemic, actually.
Yeah, and well-being is a really holistic, broad theme, of course. So there also Yuri van Geest 2 days ago on this fair says we need to bring nature more within, and it's more like on festivals where young people go to get together and they can connect. Like Boy is saying, that's the main insight, that the connection is now less because of virtual contact. So the function of offices will change probably. How do you see that?
Well, I think it needs to become a very social gathering place as well, because I can understand that a lot of people feel less comfortable being at home, being not in contact with their usual pack when they are at the office a couple of days a week. So that really needs to be a focus point for HR, I would say, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's not only that the office is more changing, and I agree also with the other guys on sense that it's going to be more social function. But of course, also online, like we're doing now, there's also a lot of things you can do to connect in an online way. But I think it's a mix of both, and nobody knows for how long we need to have the 1.5 meter distance, but companies obviously have to prepare for that. I think on the one hand, the social function is very important. On the other hand, what we also see is that activity-based working, which is not a new thing, but it's getting more important. Because when there are also a lot of people that are working from home, but just don't have the environment where they can really focus. So when you're going to the office, this is important. On the one hand, you have the social gatherings. On the other hand, you need to have and to be facilitated also in very focused areas where you can work or brainstorm, so I think activity-based working is getting more important than even before.
If I may add to that, I think the downside of working more from home is that people can't leave their work alone at a certain time because they're so used to work as well in the place that they're trying to recreate. And if you're going back to the office, it's really like putting on or off a switch when you enter and leave the building. So I think when you look at this situation from the point of view that companies will say like, well, we perhaps need less office space because people are very used to work from home, it can also have a very negative effect on the workflow that people are in, because they have that constant rush in their head of having their work around their dinner table, instead of that they can actually leave it at a certain place and pick it up the next day again, which brings more clarity inside of your head as well. So that would really need to be also a focus point for companies to take into account with regards of their policies of going back to work. Like, what are you going to do, and how are you going to make these decisions, and based on which consequences are you going to choose your policies. So I think that is also a thing from the more mental health aspect that really needs to be thought of before making any decisions at all on how you will integrate the future workplace, whether it's from home or in an actual office building.
Yeah, good point. And Robert, I think companies like Microsoft are really experimenting with this. Can you tell us something about that?
Speak for Microsoft, right? But I mean, what we've seen in the market is that definitely companies are very willing right now to start new projects, especially in the area of new working, as you call it. And at least from what we've seen in the interest in our solution, there was really a spike now, also in the last couple of weeks and months, for companies that are looking now into, okay, what do I do now that people are starting to come back? I believe that we will really need to have a serious discussion also internally in our companies in what are the benefits, what are the downsides of having people stay at home versus in the office, and then just realistically look ourselves in the eyes and see what's really also best for the employees and what's also best in regards of productivity and possibilities also for the companies, of course. I mean, there was recently a study published that also, of course, also this quarantine and people having to stay at home causes psychological issues, like Felix said. I mean, you cannot really shut off your brain of work anymore. At the same time, you have much less interaction with people. So as an employer, of course, I also need to look into the psychological well-being of the employees and see what I can do to support them there. What we've done internally is just offer, for instance, weekly hangouts, very informal hangouts with our team through video chat, where we've been also just chatting, or where we've been updating each other on the latest developments in our lives and what we've been doing, what we've been eating, what sports we've been doing. And I feel this kind of also informal interaction also with your colleagues then gives you a bit of opportunity also to kind of reconnect with the way how it used to be, like the water cooler chat that you know from the office typically.
Boy.
It's also interesting that that Corona is what we see with clients and in the market, that Corona, the crisis where we're in, is accelerating within a company, stakeholders like HR and facility need to work together. Where before it didn't happen, but now because you have the homework environment where a facility is thinking, okay, is it something that I also need to be involved in that? But there are way more, you need to have a holistic approach, because I think we all agree that it's not only the building, but it's also body and business that have influence. So I really hope that this trend will accelerate even more, because if we work together in a company with all the stakeholders, and of course also real estate has their responsibility. And in the end, it's a win-win, because if the building is healthy, if the HR policies are clear, if there's one holistic approach, then in the end, the employees are healthy and most productive, and I think that's important for everybody.
Boy, question to you. Who do you think should take the lead in this? Should it be the real estate, or should it come from within the renting company?
I think there are two different responsibilities. So I think it needs to come from both sides, actually. And as an employer, you have the responsibility that your employees are healthy, of course, and that you facilitate in the best way. And I think for a real estate company, there's a different goal, and that's to fill their building with as much companies. But like I said, there is, if you make it measurable and you can show that by investing in your building, making it more healthy, so that in the end your clients are more happy, then that's the business case you need. It's a business case, by the way, that we already validated quite some times, and I really hope that this is accelerating. That maybe real estate developers that were more traditional minded see now an opportunity, because I think more companies are asking for it. Yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah, so Tibor is asking in the chat who in the end is paying, but then you say it's a multiple budget then.
Yeah. What we see is that the problem is that a real estate company don't want to influence on the HR side of their client, which is also logical, because it's not their responsibility. But in the end, if these stakeholders are working together with each other, which I think not. We are, as a company, are doing that, but I think we all need to do that in an ecosystem. Then I think it's that's really the way to go.
Yeah. So there are now too many silos. You have the building, you have the employee, you have different departments.
For sure.
Typically, from what we've seen before the Corona crisis, was in a lot of discussions with the renting company. They then said, "Oh no, but we don't own the building. We can't really do anything about air quality, so we don't want to do a project about that, because we're just going to find solutions problems that we cannot solve." Which, by the way, is also wrong, because you can do a lot even if you're not the owner or the operator of the building. But now more and more companies start taking responsibility, actually, even as a renter, and they start acting even if they don't own the building. And then they can also, once they have data, they can also go to their landlord and say, "Hey, look, we have the following problem. Can you help us to solve it?" Because in the end, I mean, any measure that you take now to air quality, to decrease infection risk, also increases the value of the real estate, right? Because this is what companies are going to look for in the future when they are looking for new spaces. They are going to look into how's the well-being of that space, and what's the kind of ventilation, or what's the kind of corona spread risk for that space. And if both are looking good, then you have a much better positioned object than if you have some problems with that.
Yeah, ultimately, the best form of investment is to invest in the people who are spending their time in the building. Eventually, it will pay off for both sides.
Yeah.
Either you have happy renters and the company is a healthy company.
Yeah, and in the end, the crisis where we are now accelerates that trend, if I hear you correctly.
Yeah.
So that's the good news then.
Yeah, and I see a reaction of Norbert, innovation manager of Form. He agrees on this topic, but I also have to say that they are for sure a leading example in the Dutch market, where we're working closely together with, and there you really see that HR and facility and real estate are coming together. yeah, I think that's worth a mention.
Yeah, important. More ecosystems, more working together, and then jointly fund a more healthy, happy workplace.
Yeah.
If it's at home or in the office.
Exactly.
I think that's the conclusion.
Preferably in the office. Nou ja, that's a good conclusion because we are right on time.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants something to add, please do. And otherwise, we can end this fruitful discussion.
Thank you for hosting, Stephanie.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Stephanie. Really nice to have you.
For having us.
Yeah, welcome. And you thanks for the interesting content and debate. Thanks.
Great.
All right.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.